Good afternoon. The entity that I work for is the National Skill Development Corporation, and in my presentation I'll try to explain a little bit more about. I've structured my presentation, and I won't take more than 7 or 8 minutes, is first to give you an overview, the demographics you're aware of, what are the challenges that it entails, and then take you through some of the opportunities and challenges I'd leave to the other members on the panel. Some of it is, so essentially 3 aspects to it. All of you are aware of the demographics, and it's only once in a country's lifetime that you have demographics such as India has at this point of time. We're talking about education here. At the end of the day, when you look at it, education, whether formal academic or vocational, is all about a livelihood or a job at the end of it. Just to give you a perspective, we have almost 8.5 lakh new entrants to the job market month on month for the next 2 decades. That gives you some perspective of the challenge that is expected to be taken care of by the government and the private sector. Some statistics, it's inevitable. We have today a gross enrollment ratio of 13.5. The last reports came out, apparently put it as 18.8. The government has set itself a mandate to raise it to 30 by 2020. To give you a comparison, the gross enrollment ratio in the US is 70. Bulk of the infrastructure that is there in terms of educational, both academic, is government. The capacity is inadequate when you see the supply side. The focus is more on the academic stream. Vocational education and training has always been considered to be second in terms of priority. The whole focus was sought to be changed by the government and has been put together in the skills policy of 2009. When you look at the whole thing is about investment opportunities. I hate to, at times you might say it's sacrilegious to get education and talk about investment at the same time. But there are some basic reasons why we need to look at it. When you see the magnitude of the task at hand, there's no way that all of this can be funded through government budgetary support. At the same time, when you see the projected compounded annual growth rate, these are very attractive. And hence, there is scope for private sector participation in this quote-unquote task of building infrastructure for nation building. And when you look at the 12th five-year plan, which has been drawn up, 2012 to 2017, if you see all the universities and the colleges and the institutes of higher learning like IITs and IIMs which are supposed to be set up, bulk of them are to be set up in the PPP mode. The good part, we all know that the gross enrollment ratio is low. We all know that a large percentage of kids who get into school do not pass secondary or higher secondary. But the good part is bulk of the opportunities that will be available going forward would be predominantly skill-based, where the knowledge quotient or the academic quotient can be relatively lower. This is the skills pyramid. So 75% of the opportunities would be for those who can be school passed or even lower. The government has set itself a target to skill 500 million people by 2022. That's a need. But when you're a professional and you set out to deliver a target, need is not enough. You need to estimate a demand. And that's one of the first things we did, was to do a demand estimation, and that was the figure that came up, and this was broken up sectorally. I am someone who's working in the VET space, vocational education and training. At times, the academic strand and the vocational strand are seen to be parallel roads. But I think what we need to realize that what needs to happen and will happen going forward, that there'll be convergence in the academic and the vocational stream, and I'll come to that later. So again, it's a busy slide, but what it says essentially that the capacity to train is woefully inadequate when you look at the demand going forward. A little bit about the organization that I represent. We are a unique entity. We are a government startup, but 49% ownership is with the government and 51% is with the private sector, with 10 different chambers of commerce and industry associations holding 5.1% equity each. While we are a government startup, we are government funded. We don't have a single government official in our day-to-day management. We are all from the corporate sector, and incidentally, we are a not-for-profit, but run along absolute corporate lines with clear marked deliverables. We have two tasks which have been assigned to us by the government. One is to get private sector to skill 150 million people by 2022. And secondly, also to address the quality paradigm. Quality, which the entire last session was all about. We are also unique in the sense that while the government has tasked us to get the private sector to deliver the numbers, it has also given us with a corpus to fund it. So we are in the unique position of also being, in a number of respects, an NBFC, a NABARD for the skill space. We work along a whole lot of strands. Funding is just one of it. A little bit about, since it's all about investment, a little bit about what is our core requirements. We believe that sustainability is the way forward, and we will fund any entity in the vocational education and training space which is A, sustainable, B, scalable, a minimum of 100,000 over 10 years, and finally, outcome-based. For too long, academia has been supply-led. The time now is to look at a demand-led model where you need to concentrate on what the competencies are required and then build the model backwards. Sector Skill Councils is the quality paradigm which the government has tasked us to set up, and these are multi-stakeholder organizations whose sole deliverable is to look at quality talent in the sectors that they operate in. At the end of the day, it's all about numbers. So we have a corpus of about $500 million committed to us. And till date, we've funded 60-odd organizations at an outlay of about 250 million, which will skill about 70 million by 2022. All of this is in terms of returnable capital. So we fund primarily at low rates of interest, and the commitment that we've given to the government is that the corpus that has been given to us will be returned less bad debts, if any. Run out of battery, but that's essentially what we are all about. And essentially what I have to say from the position that I am in is that the education space can be looked at as a viable proposition in which return on investment can be, a reasonable return on investment can be looked at. And with the compounded annual growth rates that you've seen, it is a viable proposition for the private sector to look at it either on their own or in PPP mode. Thank you.